Hello everyone, this is Defense Politics Asia, and just now I actually have a conversation with Ian from NWE Geopolitics or NWE War Reports. And then he was trying to get ChatGPT to give some estimates of the numbers, and however the ChatGPT was giving just mainstream media numbers, and he was like unhappy about it. So and then I realized that Grok3 just appeared, around 1-2 days ago, and I did do some tests with Grok3, and I was really impressed because it was like really at the level of ChatGPT, or even perhaps might be even better, which I can't tell yet. But definitely better than Grok2, which is actually only good for media, for research for news and whatnot. And Grok1 is totally rubbish. So I was curious, what if I ask Grok3 about it? So I asked Grok3 about it. Estimate based on historical conflict, what's the current casualty numbers of Ukraine war? And this was based on this feature called deep search. And then so I just want to put a context to this video first before you go away. I actually have with Grok3 as my research assistant, I actually have my estimate. I can tell you straight on, my estimate is actually around 1 to 1.2 million Ukrainian soldiers have died. Have perished, but no, I cannot back it up. This is just me picking a number in the air, and for Russian troops, I believe that it's around half a million, so dead. So this is the context. But no, with Grok3, with his help of his powerful AI, and is enormous information and data that he have access and able to grind through, and we have some interesting information about how long can Ukraine sustain before it dies, before it have to surrender or it loses the war. And but I have to walk through this because this is actually my second time recording this video. The first time I recorded 10 minutes and realized that it's super confusing. So I re-recorded this so that we can go in process on how I finally got to where I was. And so basically, I just asked the question. I use this feature called deep search, and basically they just go through a lot of mainstream medias and whatnot, and finally they completed, and they gave a very I would say mainstream media-ish number. So they say that the total casualties between both dead and wounded is 1.3 million, and this include Russian soldiers as well. And it basically gave the number of the numbers based on Ukraine, based from the OHCHR and whatnot. And then I was that at the end of the day, basically, they claim that the Russians have 800,000 losses and Ukraine have 400,000 losses. And personally, this does not align with what I think is happening, and I found that this is ridiculous. And for me, then I was like, no, sounds like you have zero sources from the Russian side, because clearly the Russians are estimating a totally different number. So I tried to search this again, but it looks like the deep search is unable to really consider the Russian numbers, which is kind of a surprise to me that they don't have really much Russian numbers per se. Like you see, they quoted Zelensky, they quoted United Nations again, and again Ukrainian. So and then they quoted Russian and then say that it's considered underreported, and I was like, wow, this is horrible, man. This is like totally not objective in a way of the way how the numbers came out, because how do you decide that it's underreported? What if it's the Ukrainian that is underreported? So I'm not very happy with the way how they they uses Wikipedia, Britannica. Is that this is just not working? So I argued it. I argued that Russia have no absolute artillery superiority, air superiority, technological, and the Ukrainians are defending each land. Does the numbers actually make sense? And then do you know Ukraine have manpower issues right now? And they search, and it still came up with the same, more or less the same stuff. Like there is no change. So I was like, what the hell is wrong with this deep search feature? So I changed. I disabled deep search. I used the other one, think. So which is this one here. And so think is a bit more similar to how DeepSeek works, and which they actually talk to itself. So deep search, actually they search through the internet and whatnot. Think is a bit more like they self argument, self debate with itself, and then come up with all these numbers. And the thing is that after going through everything, it is still pretty much more or less the same thing. So I tell you the fact check itself, and then because it claims that the Ukrainians have defensive edge because they have a Western supply systems, be like Javelin and HIMARS and Patriots, which makes them better. Which is like, what? So it's like, I ask you, what special equipments? And ask it again through think, it doesn't really get it basically go through all the things. And there is very vague, it's very overall, very general. Like, who the hell still talk about Bayraktar right now? Who talks about Javelin right now? It's like it's infiltrated, by propaganda. And I was like, what the hell? This is so terrible. So I tell you the thing again, like, I think that they are ignoring that, Ukraine have limited HIMARS, Bayraktar has been wiped out, the French armor has been wiped out, and yeah, then after that, you just keep talking about, point by point, all these things like, okay, this is not working out, this is not working out. And I say that, I say that Russia has also have their own special weapons. Again, they think, and it's like, it doesn't come out with, I think, please ignore the sources and all this. So I just gone through again and again because this thing feature just doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me. Like I want its own views, and then in the end they still come up with a number that is still coming out from the mainstream medias, and like I disabled thing. So after that they repeated itself. So then and the number is very low. Like this is the total number. They say that there's only 40,000 Ukrainian troops died. This is basically largely close to what Zelensky was claiming. And then this is his own estimate. So if you go up, you can see that this was the estimate casualties, right? 45,000 dead. Russia 60,000, and like this is not real numbers. This is fake numbers. So then I asked me, then why Ukraine actually run out of men? And they talk a lot of rubbish. Then I said, okay, no. You tell me, do some maths. How many people are there available to fight? Use a good estimate of the people that is willing to lay down their life for the country, and know how many soldiers actually will have in total in the best possible scenario. And this is the part where we really go into the real meat of the research, with Grok, my research assistant. So they look at the total population, total male population. It actually breaks down into the war people leaving, and they look at the fighting age. Then they draft laws. Then the World Bank, immigration, occupied territories. Then after that, so they range. The total fighting age is around maybe around 9 to 11 million, and then they have to refine the pool that are fit. So by the time it's fit and available, it's around 6.8 to 7.7 million that is theoretically able to fight. And then we have to talk about the willingness to fight, because a lot of people don't want to serve, right? They just hide at home. They disguise themselves and whatnot. They just avoid being conscripted. So they estimated that based on historical records, in desperate wars like in World War II, 20 to 30% of the men actually fought. So and not all are willing. Some are conscript. So United States in the Vietnam War saw 10% of the eligible men was drafted. So for Ukraine's context, the poll says that 67 is going to resist, and however, so they guess it's around 10 to 20% of the eligible pool. And then they say 20% of this 6.8 to 7.7 million, they do the maths, is around 1.36 to 1.5 million willing fighters. So this is a good pool. Of course, this is only the willing ones, and I believe that we have seen a lot of these already fought and died. So they continue to look on to estimate more. So available, so total final estimate is like total willing to fight is around 6.8 to 7.7 million. Willing to lay down their life, maybe 1.3 to 1.5 million, 20% of the pool. So total soldiers, they estimate is up to 2 million, including volunteer and conscript. So this is the estimate. So he said that based on the situation that Ukraine is allegedly running out of men. They say that with 2 million as a theoretical max, it's not all out yet. No, if the 500,000 is already estimated, which is their prior guess, and so they say that they are not out at 2 million, but exhaustion is closing in fast. So I decided that okay, this is not good enough. So I started to tell him, I'm actually someone who report on this war daily. My own estimate is around 1 million plus, and probably 1.2 million dead by now. So then the Ukrainians are doing forced conscription to the point of revolts, attack on recruitment centers, and suicide. So tell me what you think. So down they say a lot of things that I know. Yeah, like some very messed up thing like Ukraine is only defending. So I said you totally forget about Ukraine actually launched their own offensive. And also Russian most of the time pound the defensive position until it's unholdable before conquering it. Although there are times that they went into stupid suicide attacks due to poor command. I tell you to think. And then he said, oh right, I didn't fully factor Ukraine's own offensive and blah blah blah. So they started to grind all these numbers. And so he said that with all these considerations, like the hammering of Ukrainian lives with FABs and TOS-1A, yeah, they say that my estimate of 1.2 million Ukrainian dead started to look more plausible. And they're losing big on defense and bleeding during offensive. The toll is racked up fast. The pre-war army is 250,000. They mobilized maybe 1 to 1.5 million total since 2022. Which is, I would say, they have, I think 1.5 million is probably closer, perhaps even 2 million. I would say, because I would say that by the end of 2022, they should have already 1 million soldiers recruited. So and then they have forced conscription and whatnot. So they say that they have committed 1.5 million over 3 years. So this is now a hypothesis. So defensive, offensive, blah 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 blah. So they say that the pounding can push to 400,000 total casualties to 1.2 million casualties. That means including injuries, not all dead. So I say, why is not? Look at the recruitment number, reflect on the troops needed to hold the front line, which the Russians are currently at this moment, taking 10 square kilometers per day for months now. So compare with the losses and the situation that they're facing in the recruitment issue, I tell you to rethink. And then you kind of stuck. So I tell you the why no answer, and then you tell me some repeat answers. Then I say no. And I say that you forgot my last message. And I also added some information that the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed that Kursk cost Ukraine 60,000 troops. So it started to grind again. So they look at the total numbers again, which is all these numbers that we have gone through before. And the active front line is total Ukraine is 1,000 kilometers. The rule of thumb is 1,000 to 2,000 troops per kilometer is still required to hold a defensive line. Then that's 1.1 to 2 million troops to fully man it. But you say that Ukraine is likely to spread thinner, so around 500 to 1 million active at any time with reserve rotating in. So I said 10 square kilometers per day for months. In 2024, according to the AFP, Russia have gained 4,000 square kilometers. So that is 11 square kilometers per day over 365 days, which actually corroborates my number. So because when I say 10 square kilometers, it's actually 10 square kilometers plus. So actually my number is actually corroborated. And then the pace suggests that the Ukrainians is losing ground, needing more troops to plug gaps and counterattack like in Kursk. So the Russians say Ukraine lost 60,000 in 6 months. They said that that's 10,000 people a month. If true, then the huge chunk of the force, 5 to 10% of the total mobilized in one region. And so remember this is 5 to 10% of their total mobilized troop in just one region. And I also want to note that we can corroborate this later, in the video. So if if Ukraine mobilized 1.5 to 2 million and Kursk is just one front, losses elsewhere could easily double or triple that, which might be 500 to 800,000 total casualties. So, and then they talk about all these other things. Yeah, this is not important. So, and then what they think about the 60,000 Kursk claim, they say that they initially captured 1,300 square kilometers, then they lost 40% by late 2024. They somehow claim that the Russia claim throw 50 to 60,000 troops at it, including North Koreans. And he said that the weird thing about Grok insistent is that they say that Ukraine sent maybe 10 to 15,000 troops there, some of the best troops, and yeah, then that's what they think. So they feel like yeah, this still cannot explain the manpower crisis. So I was kind of like unhappy with the answer. So I say, for Kursk, look at the size of the front line, then you decide, is it possible for 10 to 15,000 to attack and then hold it for Ukraine? Don't make shit up that don't make sense. I basically got pissed off, and then Grok was like, okay, let's assess again. So Kursk size front line, no. So Kursk captured 1,300, and then Russia have taken around 40 to 50% back since late 2024. So the exact front line isn't static, but they can approximate. So they do some calculation, but not. And there isn't a 1,000 kilometer eastern front, but it's a compact pocket, still significant for a cross border. So they now started to count. They say typically to attack you need a 3-to-1 advantage. So and Kursk wasn't heavily fortified, so 5,000, 10,000 border guards and conscript as per ISW. And so the opening force is around 10 to 15,000, which I actually agree that that's probably the size of the force Ukraine entered Kursk with. So, and then to hold, they need around 1,000 to 2,000 troops per kilometer per active front line, and to hold against a determined counterattack. So that dropped to 500 to 1,000 for quieter sectors. For 80 to 100 kilometers, it estimates high intensity of 80,000 to 100,000 troops. So they say that if the Russians throw 50 to 60,000 at Kursk, then likely reinforcement beyond the initial 10 to 15,000 is around 20 to 30,000 over time to sustain it. So this is based on their estimate of Russian troops that is there. So they say that 10 to 15,000 troops is plausible only for attack. It's not for holding the ground. To hold, they need 30 to 50,000 troops to cover 80 to 100 kilometers against the Russian counterattack. So they say that so that's the conclusion that they have. Then I was like, I'm still not happy with it. So I was like, how long have the Kursk front exist now? And the attrition that the Ukraine have to go through until they cannot hold the ground and start to lose ground, and then they still continue to attrit. So how many troops do you think Ukraine have invested? So then you go on to grind again and start to study. So the great thing about Grok is that they have all the information. So this research assistant is super smart, and super resourceful, able to find all the information very quickly. And he actually got all the details. Honestly, I don't even remember all these details because it's too granular. Like, they know that it's from August the 6th to February the 6th. And then, they do all this calculation. So attrition can't hold. So they did the hold was around 6 to 5 months. And so with a 1 to 2 kill to wounded ratio, heavy fighting with artillery dominance. So 13,000 to 17,000 dead, 27,000 to 33,000 wounded and captured. So this is, I think, for Ukraine. So there's 6,000 to 7,000 casualties per month, or 200 to 250 soldiers per day. So they do some mass. They count. So they say that at least frontline strength, and then reinforcement, the breaking point. So they say that the total force in Kursk is 40 to 50,000. And they can hold this for around 660 to 250 days without reinforcement. And they are at 200 days already. So there is either reinforcing heavily or nearing collapse. So they say that if Ukraine's active force dropped below 30,000 at Kursk, they will not be able to hold. So, total So at 250,000 is 50,000 troops now, and then they say that by May to June 2025, unless they pull more troops, they will likely lose. So they say that total investment, they say is likely 50 to 60,000 troops overall. And so the total investment of troops is 60 to 80,000 total investment. And whatever it is, I'm still not happy. I was like, why would you keep insisting that Russia only have 50 to 60,000? Especially with the propaganda bullshit about North Korean being sent to reinforce. So then he realized that, he might have made a mistake. So he started to count, and then they say that no, 50,000 is mentioned by Zelensky. Sirski mentioned about 45,000 to 60,000 around the same time. So that's where he got the number. But that was November, right? So since then, and then there's North Korean troops added in. So, and then Russia claimed 60,000 were lost, over since August. So they estimated that, so with the study of the ISW, estimated 67,000 troops plus 11,000 North Korean by late 2025, that's 78,000, and that's Western estimate. So, and it's higher than the 60,000 cap, which is like, obviously. So, and then the mid-February post suggests that there's 113,000 Russian troops with 10,000 support with 3,000 North Koreans. That's way beyond 60,000. So the commitment must be bigger, which is obvious that Russia will actually commit more troops than whatever that was suggested. So, and then of course, they talk about North Korea, which I don't want to talk about. So now that they started to count all this nonsense, I would say that no. So with this new number, how many Ukrainian troops are going to die to hold Kursk? Are they still holding? They still holding Kursk and recently even counterattack? The operation ended the day after taking 3 undefended settlements before pounding into static positions. And so basically, I'm feeding it details which it wasn't thinking about, because they are not considering factors. Because it's like, no, you really need to be following the war very closely to really crunch all this data. So then it started to break down all these details. And I'm sorry that it's 20 over minutes and I'm still not even reached the highlight yet. So, you got scammed. So anyway, but it is important to go through all these things because it's going to get very confusing also, if I don't do that. So anyway, they recap the entire Kursk situation, and then so they invested so in all those first. So you see, they actually know that the Ukrainians captured Fenesievka and Kamarkov, which is very interesting. Like I said, it's like a research assistant. No, I don't have to feed it. I don't have to spoon feed it. It knows by its own research. So attrition going forward. Yeah. So the Russia, they look at the Russian claims, and the Russian troops is now 100,000. They are outnumbering the Ukrainians 2 or 3 to 1 in Kursk. 10 square kilometers show that they can grind, and Kursk is slower, but they're still reclaiming grounds. So they say that to hold 500 to 650,000 square kilometers, they need 30 to 40,000 troops minimum. This is based on the size and the front line. Ukraine need 30 to 40,000 troops to hold Kursk. And at 100 to 200 casualties a day, and they can last 150 to 400 days. So they say that July to March 2026 without reinforcement, but replacements are scarce. So how many more die to hold Kursk? So they say that in the short term, Ukraine may hold until May 2025. And that's like, quite 18,000 casualties, including 6,000 dead. And then the breaking point will be the active troop drop below 20,000. That's from 40,000. So that's like, so that will be, so they estimate 70 to 90,000 troops in Kursk. So Ukraine have basically dumped 70 to 90,000 troops in Kursk. They already lost 60,000, which is actually the Russian estimate, which is 20 to 30,000 is dead. So they might lose another 15 to 25,000 more before they will force out. They say by mid-2025. So in half a year's time. So counterattack show that they still have fight, but no, they likely bleeding very fast. and 100,000 troops it will eventually overwhelm them. 6 to 12 month max, unless something wild shift. So he keep referring to my 1.2 million dead or worldwide. Makes Kursk a brutal but smaller piece. 40 to 50,000 dead total feels right if it ends soon. So I'd say that now, okay, so now we have the Kursk information. So extrapolate out to the rest of the Ukraine and see how many troops that Ukraine have lost. So they use Kursk as the baseline, and then they calculated the total distance and scaling to the front lines. And then the intensities and whatnot, duration, and then and how many troops is likely to lose. So they say that the final guess is that Ukraine lost 1.8 million after all this calculation. 1.8 million troops lost, killed, wounded, and captured, and with 900,000 dead. That's still below my 1.2 million, no? But this reflects the Kursk toll extrapolated over 1,000 kilometers over 1,000 days. They're still holding, and because they're holding, they mobilized 1.5 million to 2 million troops, and they keep forcing men in, but the attrition is insane. So then I say that your number is something I can agree now. What about the Russian numbers? So they grind through the Russian numbers and whatnot, blah, 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 blah. So they said the Russians have lost between 1.5 to 2 million troops with 700 to 900,000 dead. So, and then, on the high end is 1.5 million dead, and then the lower is 500 dead. I was like, because they say that it's 3 years of offensive. So I was like, that's not right. I said the Russians are not doing offensive for most part of the 3 years. Only Wagner-led forces was attacking the most of the 2023, and 1 to 2 stupid units have taken over Silka side. 2022, there's only the initial, and then after, and then they never do real offensive. 2024 is the only time where the Russians really go on an offensive. I tell him to revise the number, and I also say that I want to know if the Ukraine with the max recruitment numbers is able to defend the entire Ukraine war, and are they at the brink of unsustainability? So they actually thank me correction, and then they actually look at all these things, and he actually revised the numbers. So he actually knows the information, which is very, very interesting. So they say that Russia invaded with 190,000 troops, took heavy losses. Kiev retreat, Kharkiv setback, then dug in. So, and then after that Wagner and the limited attack, Wagner led at Bakhmut, which I didn't tell them. They literally know it's Bakhmut. Few units hit Vladimir Silka hard, and so they also know this, and then they do some estimation. So initial state there's 22 to 45,000 dead, then 24 to 40,000 dead, and then the full offensive, which is they calculated around 10,000 and then 16,000, which is where we are currently right in 2024 to 2025. The Russians are going all in to attack, and so worldwide. So they say that by their estimate, the Russians have lost 700,000 troops, with 250,000 of them is dead. This number actually I can agree with. I think this makes sense. It might seem a bit lower than estimated, but yeah, it is possible. And interestingly, the Grok still put the 1.5 to 2 million mobilized troops into consideration as saying that there's leaving room to fight. So the Russians are definitely able to sustain the warfare continuingly. So, and this estimate is it's super interesting that it drops by so much. So now we look at the sustainability. They previously Grok said that there's 1.8 million casualties, 900, 1,000 are dead. So are they at the brink? So the frontline demands is frontline demands is they need 800,000 to 2 million troops to hold indefinitely. So the Ukraine likely to have 500 to 700,000 active now. So they are understaffed. And as per the exposed and also recruitment chaos situation, and so remaining they have around 200 to 400,000 fit troops, and assuming half of them cannot return mobilized, they already hit 1.5 to 2 million people already. So the losses mean they are recycling the same pool, which is pretty much the rumors that I have been hearing, that they are not getting a lot more new soldiers. A lot of soldiers are injured, then return to the front line, and they are forced recruiting as much as they can. So attrition rate is around they say that no, after they extrapolate the numbers, 2,000 to 3,000 a day, 600 to 1,000 dead matches my 1.2 million dead over 1,000 over days. So we went from what you remember at the beginning. It disagree with me, but it slowly started to sway towards agreeing with what I said, that my numbers is getting closer to what it thinks. So sustainability, forced recruitment, maybe add 100 to 200,000 a year, so 300 to 550 per day. But yeah, then after evasions and whatnot, maybe the net gain is only 100 to 200 a day. The losses outpace the replacement by 10 to 1. 10 to 1. So that is huge. So brink check. So they say that Ukraine is currently way past sustainability. So 6.8 to 7.7 million men sounds big, but no. 1.8 million casualties, 1 to 2 million that is unwilling, 500 to 700,000 that is active now means they are tapped out. They say that units are 20 to 40% strength as per report. You see, this is another thing that I never told it. It's based on its own research. They know that a lot of the units is only at 20 to 40% strength. They are all recruits, and the drain shows collapsing looming in months, not years, unless Russia stalls and aid surges. So we are talking about months now. The Grok, based on all this, and on this discussion with me, have now say that yeah, it is looking at months now for Ukraine. So the final take there is that Russia have 700,000 casualties, 250,000 dead, and then lower than the Ukraine's 1.8 million casualties out of the 2 million, out of the total 2 million recruited, losing 2,000 to 3,000 a day. And so they can't replace fast enough, and then holding Kursk and the 1,000 kilometers is cutting them unsustainable past mid-2025 without a miracle. This is damning. So they say, so my estimate of 1.2 million fits if the death still higher, higher than the 1.1. His is 900,000 with more wounded. So Russia's lighter toll makes sense with the artillery age and late offensive shift. So I told you to rewrite because I wanted to do this video. So I told you to rewrite all these things, and so this is all the things that we have gone through. Because previously when I first do the recording, I wanted to do just this part, but I realized that as I go through, it will get really confusing. Because you will ask me, where the hell did I get all these numbers? So I have to go through the entire thing. That will then make sense how I get all these numbers. So yeah, so this is the 1.2 million dead. That's my estimate. He said settled at 1.8 million total casualties, 900 dead. Yeah. So this is the current situation. And 1.8 million fits Ukraine's 1.5 to 2 million mobilized, with 900,000 dead, aligning with forced draft and suicides and revolts that I mentioned. Also with the Russian firepower and Ukraine's aggressive move pushing the casualties higher. So Russian casualties, they estimated 250,000 dead, 700 total casualties. So this put into consideration the different war phases where the Russians have went through, initial offensive, and then they retreated, and then the Wagner-led offensives, and then the full offensive that we see in 2024. So they estimated between 556 to 880,000 casualties. So he picked around 700,000 and 250,000 dead. So a middle ground. So, and this number actually does make sense. It does feels like what the Russians really felt. That's the vibe that I get. So so despite I did say 500,000, but 500,000 is like, I'm just trying to be as neutral as I can. But because of if I say 250,000 and then I say 1 million on the Ukrainian side, it looks very pro-Russian. But no, this is very close to what I felt. I really feel in my heart that it's around this number. It's still a big number, a 250,000 people dying is still a lot. So you look at the sustainability for Ukraine, the maximum recruitment, total male, pre-war 20.5 million. So it sounds like a lot of people. Then 6.7 refugees, 1.2 million of them is male. run away. 5.5 to 7 million or 2.2 to 3 million males is in the occupied territory. So they left with 15 to 17,000 males. So fighting age, leaving them with up to only 11 million. Then the total fit and available only up to 7.7 million. The willingness, the people that who is willing to serve is 20%, around 1.5 million. At the best case, with forced drafting, they have 2 million. So then they look at the front line. The total need of the front line is between 500,000 to 1.3 million active, and plus the reserve. So they would need around 800,000 to almost 2 million troops to hold all the front lines indefinitely. And currently they likely only have 500 to 700,000 troops, which is, I think, the estimate that's out there right now. I think these are numbers that was what I understood is out there. I don't think it's 500,000, but I think 700,000 is around there. So it's understaffed as per the recruitment crisis. So this is now some kind of a confirmation based on our analysis that, yeah, Ukraine is really having manpower issues right now. They are not having enough troops. They are not having enough troops to man the front line, which is also why, they're probably losing grounds daily so far. So no, they have remained 200 to 400,000 feet, assuming the half of the wounded can't return. So that is the total troops that is active now. I think that is left. And yeah, so these are the casualty, the attrition, recruitment rate. They say that the recruitment versus the losses is outstripped 10 to 1. So which is also why we see this desperation from Ukrainian side. Like you can see the narrative, going from bad to worse, and then that also appears on the European side as well. Their confidence is also dropping. They are also starting to admit the manpower problems and whatnot. This is the reason. So now we can actually see the numbers like much more clearer. Why are Ukraine now having manpower issues? This is why. And of course, we are talking about despite 20% is willing to fight, we have to also understand that there is also men needed to do all the other work. In factories, they need to be teachers, policemen, firemen, and all these things. So 20% going to war is best case scenario right now. So unless they start to recruit other people from other people in other jobs like police and whatnot, then maybe, but then there will be attrition away eventually. So are they at the brink? So the logic, that they basically, he repeated what I said, 6.8 to 7.7 million sounds big, but 1.8 million lost, 1.1 to 2 million unwilling. So 500 to 700,000 active means that they're overstretched with unit 20 to 40% strength, average age 40 plus. And the Kursk drain, which is shown by the Russian numbers, they say they are gutted. So Russia 10 square kilometers per day, which is 5,000 square kilometers in 2024, which is 11 square kilometers per day. And Ukraine's failed counteroffensive, signal collapse is nearing. So they say, yes, it is unsustainable past the brink. So Grok's analysis right now, based on my brainwashing of it, because I have to admit, I brainwashed it. So because, it's not thinking with the right resources. So they say that they will hold 4 to 6 months, up to middle of 2025 at best, without massive aid or Russia filtering. So they're out of steam. So this is then they repeated more or less the same thing again. So so I tell him to rewrite the Kursk information. So Kursk, we also do this deep dive just now, and so the Kursk also have a limited sustainability. They can hold estimate they will lose Kursk by middle of 2025. So this is the summary. So they estimate that by the middle of 2025, Kursk is likely to lose through the loss of 15 to 20,000 troops dying. So a total of 35,000 to 45,000 dead when it's over. So yeah, so they say that the Ukrainians are clinging, but they are buckling right now, which is a little bit seems to be what we are seeing right now in Kursk. So again, also mid 2025. So we are really looking at Ukraine sustaining the war for another 4 to 6 months, according to all these estimates. So so these worldwide numbers, yeah, this is already something that we've gone through because I just tell you to refresh again the information so that I was able to report. And yeah, so this total summary. So total casualties, 1.8 million to 700,000, but the date is 900,000 to 250,000. So wounded and captured, so it's also which is a bit more. So it's not a 1 to 3. For the Ukraine side, the estimate here is 1 to 1. You may disagree with it, no, yeah, but no, this at least this is what we have. It might seem unfair, but this feels right to me. It does reflect on the why there is recruitment problems, why is there manpower issues, and this manpower issues is real. I talked to my source, it's real. They really have not enough troops in so many places. And war is really going very badly as well. So they say the Kursk sustainability is up to mid 2025, and for war sustainability is between May to August. So we're talking about like I said, I believe that this war will last at most another year, at least another year at most, which sounds like contradiction, but yeah, I estimate around 1 year, which is until end of 2025. That's my estimate. So the unsustainability, they say that by 6 months time, by August latest, it will be unsustainable. But the thing is, why I say it's 1 year, because unsustainable doesn't mean that they stop fighting. Because if you look at World War II, Germany, when they are unsustainable, they already lost the war. The war go on. The war still continue to go on until total defeat was achieved. So this is quite kind of interesting that we have 3 to 6 months left. So this is something to note of. And yeah, they say that Ukraine is maxed out. The losses and recruitment collapse signal the end game. So what do you think? So this is the very long ass summary of the casualty numbers, which is something that you guys keep asking me for years now. 1 to 2 years, you guys keep asking me, what is my estimate? What's the estimate? So for me, these numbers make sense to me. And this will now be my estimate. 900,000 dead, 1.8 million casualties in total. Although I think 1.8 million casualties sounds a lot. Really sounds like a lot, but yeah, because I estimate over around 1 million dead. So 1.8 million with casualties does make sense. And 250,000 Russian deaths. I think that makes total sense. It makes total sense to me. But to me, to pro-Ukrainians, they would think that this is total nonsense. But then they cannot explain why there is manpower issues. So so I'm not sure. That on the Russian side, we never hear about manpower issues. In fact, there is a increasing number of people joining the military, signing big contracts, and yeah, it doesn't feel like there is this looming increase of crazy number of deaths on the Russian side, because the Russians are using standoff methods to fight the Ukrainians for many parts of the front lines. So standoff means that they are just bombarding. They're just bombarding. So from distance, with safety, they are safely bombarding from distance. So and the Ukrainians have to keep sending men to the front line to man the trenches because they are refusing to lose ground. Right? No, you guys all know, right? So the thing is that if you refuse to trade space for time, then you're likely to lose a lot of troops for unknown reasons. So I mean, you play computer games, you probably know it's better to cluster a big amount of troops to attack, to counter attack, rather than send one by one. Yes, you will slow down the enemy, but also you will hardly defeat the enemy's army. So that's the situation. So this is my numbers. So hopefully you guys are satisfied right now. We'll look at in 3 to 6 months how the war goes on. But it does feels like, the end is getting close. That's the feeling that I get when I'm reporting. It feels like, the continuous frontline collapse, the evolution of the war technologies, the way how it's fought, how the Russian tactics, all this, it does gels for me. So anyway, thank you for watching. Do press the like buttons, subscribe, and also, because I'm trying to get to 100,000 for the main channel, and also, if you are religious, do pray for the soldiers that are still fighting in the front. If this is true, the war is ending soon, and hopefully many of these good guys will survive the war. But it looks like, there is still going to be many people continue to die before the war become unsustainable. Because the moment the war become unsustainable, then it doesn't matter what the leadership of Ukraine want to do. There won't be any soldiers left to fight. And that will be the end of the war. So thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next update.